Once upon a time, there lived a very beautiful princess named Princess Adaure, and she was the daughter of a very wealthy and powerful king. Her father, the king, was greatly feared in all of the land, and many believed that the reason why the princess never laughed was because of the strictness of her father, the king. What the villagers did not know was that the king was only fierce and strict outside of his palace walls, as he was a very funny and playful king around his daughter, Princess Adaure. But yet, the princess never laughed. One day, the king invited all the villagers and declared that whoever makes the princess laugh would be hugely rewarded. The villagers were so happy as they believed making the princess laugh was not going to be a big deal. Every day, hundreds of villagers lined up in front of the king's palace to make the princess laugh, but still Princess Adaure never laughed. One day, the chief priest of the village was consulting the gods and received a message from the gods that the princess would soon laugh. The chief priest then relayed the message to the king, who was overjoyed and now filled with so much hope. Days passed, and the villagers kept on doing all they could to make the princess laugh, as they were all focused on the reward that the king had promised to whoever could make the princess laugh. But yet, Princess Adaure still never laughed. One day, the chief overseer of the palace was patrolling the palace grounds when he caught sight of a palace maiden trying to make the princess laugh. And this infuriated the chief overseer, who prohibited all palace maidens and guards from abandoning their duties to make the princess laugh. Few months passed, and still no luck. The villagers had started giving up when the chief priest told the king that the laughter of the princess was tied to the happiness of a man. That once the happiness of that man is restored, the princess would laugh. The chief priest went on to state that the man is closer than they think. The king was so confused by what the chief priest had said, as he wondered who this man could be. So, the king sent a message to all the eligible young men in the village to come forward to make the princess laugh, and that the man who would successfully bring laughter to the lips of the princess would become her husband and the next heir to the throne. On hearing this, all the eligible bachelors came forward to make the princess laugh, as some showed off their wealth and affluence to see if this would make the princess laugh. Still yet, Princess Adaure did not laugh. The king was now getting frustrated, as he wondered why it was proving so difficult for his daughter to laugh. Every night, the king cried as this troubled him so much. One fateful day, Princess Adaure was bored at the palace and decided to take a walk around the village, followed by her personal palace guard. On their way, the princess was approached by a very handsome man named Chidi. Chidi was the son of a very rich and popular cocoa merchant in the village, and his father, Mazi Osadebe, was hell-bent on ensuring that Chidi becomes the next king of the village. Chidi began to tell the princess funny jokes to see if the princess would laugh, but all his efforts were futile, as nothing he did made Princess Adaure to laugh. When Chidi noticed that he could not make the princess laugh, he grew frustrated, as his father had warned him that if he failed to make the princess laugh, that he would disown him. So Chidi became so desperate and went to visit a very powerful juju man in the village to give him a charm that would make the princess laugh. The juju man gave Chidi a powder and told him that he should blow the powder whenever the princess was close by, and that he should be so careful to make sure that nobody saw him when he was blowing the powder. Chidi was so excited, as his dream of becoming the next king of the village was now in sight. One afternoon, Princess Adaure decided to take her usual stroll around the village, followed by her palace guards, when Chidi sighted her from a distance. Chidi quickly brought out the powder the native doctor had given him and blew it into the air. He then approached the princess with so much confidence and began to crack some jokes to her. The princess still did not laugh, and this made Chidi so furious as he began to shout. Princess Adaure's guard immediately rushed to shield the princess from Chidi, when suddenly they both heard a laugh. Princess Adaure was laughing for the first time in her life. She laughed and laughed and laughed, and Chidi was so excited that his juju finally worked. Word immediately got to the king that the princess was laughing, and the king and his guards quickly rushed to where the princess was to witness her laughing for the first time. When the king approached, Chidi immediately ran to the king to reveal that he was the man behind the princess' laughter. The king was so excited and decreed that the man who made his daughter laugh would marry the princess the day after the next Eke market day. Chidi's father, Mazi Osadebe, was so excited that his son would soon marry the princess and become the next king of the village. So he threw a very big party in the village as he celebrated their victory. The day of the marriage ceremony came, and Chidi was about to be joined with the princess when the chief priest arrived at the venue and called the king aside. The king left the ceremony to speak to the chief priest, and this began to take a while. Chidi and his father, Mazi Osadebe, started to become impatient as they wondered why the chief priest would interrupt the wedding ceremony at the time the king was about to pronounce them husband and wife. After a few minutes, the king returned and stated that an exercise had to be carried out before the joining would continue. The king went further to ask Chidi to make the princess laugh once again to prove that he is actually the chosen one. Chidi's heart began to palpitate as he did not know if the princess would laugh, as he did not have his juju powder on him. Chidi began to do all he could to make the princess laugh, but all his efforts were futile. Then the chief priest spoke up and said that Chidi was not the chosen one, but that the chosen one was present at the occasion. So the king directed all the men present to line up and take turns to make the princess laugh, and they did as they were instructed, but still the princess did not laugh. Then the king noticed that all the men at the ceremony had tried their luck except the palace guards. So the king instructed the guards to also line up and take turns, and this went on till it got to the turn of the princess' personal guard, and immediately Princess Adaure began to laugh profusely. The king was shocked to find out that the laughter of the princess was tied to her personal guard, Chimaobi, all this while. A guard who had been protecting the princess for years. Chidi was in shock as he wondered how everything went wrong. Little did Chidi know that the princess' laughter the other day was not because of the powder he blew in the air, but because of her personal guard, Chimaobi, who shielded her from him when he was screaming. The powder the juju man gave to him did not work because someone saw him when he was blowing the powder, as the juju man had warned him that he should not allow anyone to see him when he blows the powder. Chimaobi had loved the princess from the first day he set his eyes on her, but he could not show it as he was only a guard, tasked with the duty of protecting the princess. However, the only way to show his love for the princess was to always protect her from any harm. This he did for the princess all these years without any regrets. Everything now began to make more sense to the king, as truly the chosen one was closer than they thought. So the king went on to join Chimaobi and Princess Adaure as husband and wife, and from that day Princess Adaure became so happy as she laughed more often. Their love grew stronger, and everyone wished to have a love like theirs. After so many years, the king died, and Chimaobi became the next king of the village, and the people loved him. The lesson to be learned from this story is that oftentimes the solution to our problem can be staring us in the face, but we would not know. We should try not to be discriminatory in anything we do, because the person you look down on now might actually be the solution to your problem tomorrow. Treat people equally and fairly, and we would all live a good life. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.